Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? Dimitri here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about speed squares, going over a few of their features, how to use them, and all the different kinds. So let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, guys, so I kind of have you here giving you a top-down look at my workpiece and what I'm going to be doing. So this right here is a 2x6. It actually measures, if you were to take a tape measure and measure across, a lot of people might not know this. If you were to take a tape measure and come right across, it's actually measuring 5.5 by 1.5 inches, even though this is stated to be a 2x6. We just still refer to it as a 2x6. So this is my speed square that I've been using. This is just a Milwaukee speed square, nothing special to it. Got this in a pack with the 7-inch, which is this one, and the 4-inch, which is like their trim square. So this right here was like 30 bucks or 40 bucks for the 2-pack, I believe. They come in all different shapes and sizes. This right here is an Empire anodized blue. 2992 is the number that's on here. I don't know if that has any actual meaning to it or not. This is my dad's square. He's been rocking this for a while. This square needs no introduction. This is the Swanson Speed Square, and this thing has been around for a very, very long time. But for marking, I believe the Milwaukee square is going to be easiest for you guys to see, so we're going to go ahead and stick with my square for today's video. So first of all, a square is called a square because it creates a 90-degree line from whatever surface you use and put this heel on. So if I come up here, I can, check square. That's what we call square in the trades, is a 90-degree cut. And as you can see, this is actually not that square. So if I line this up here, you can see it's flush here, but then a little piece of wood pokes out from here. So this is not a very square piece of wood. So if I wanted to check that, if I was framing, if I needed a nice square cut to go up along something, I would check that. If that's not square, I can move this back, scribe a square line, and then go ahead and cut that line and cut the end of my board nice and square, or right at 90 degrees. So that's that, and that is one of the features that we can do with that. We can cut a nice square line. Now another thing, just because this is a triangle here, so we have a square line, we can use this right here to mark a 45-degree angle on our piece of wood. And that would be a 45-degree angle off of this plane right here. This angle is the 45. Then moving on, we also have scribe marks. This is not, specific to squares. The square, I don't know if you can see that. There's no scribe indication, so you can't scribe with the square. With this one, we have grooves here every 1/4 inch. So we can go here if I want to scribe an 1.5-inch line. I just push my pencil in here, hold it, slide that square across, and it scribes me an 1.5-inch line from the heel. Same goes if I want a 2-inch line, scribe. Same would go if I want a 3.5-inch line, scribe. And these are all my lines. A lot of people like to use speed squares for laying out walls, myself included. If I were laying out a wall on this plate, and let's say that I'm butt off of this, and I needed a plate exactly 3 feet off of that wall, I'd make a mark right at 3 feet, take this off. I have my mark here right at 3 feet. I'd come over, lay out my initial first line. Let's say that I needed to frame out a doorway. So the doorway comes off 3 feet. My rough opening starts this way. So this right here is the end of my door. And then if I were to frame out a 36-inch door, the 36-inch door goes off that way. So what I need is a jack stud. So I'd go over here, move this over to the 1.5-inch mark on the square, scribe, move that over to the 3-inch mark, scribe, and that would be my jack and my king, like that. And that's how it would lay out for my door opening. Let's say that I needed to make a pocket. What I would do is I would mark this out, boom. Let's just say that that's that. Another way that I could do it is I could come over here to the 1.5 inch, make a mark on the inside of the square, scribe, and then once I line that up here on this edge, I'd come over to my 3.5, because that's what a 2x4 measures. Then I would come over here, scribe that line, come here, scribe with my 1.5 inch scribe mark, 1.5 inch over, so that's stud, and then I would just come here, mark out 1.5 inch again, boom, come over here, scribe, that would be my stud, and then this right here are the pocket. This is obviously for 2x4 framing. If I'm doing 2x6 framing, I'd have to go over, but I didn't want to end up off the board over here. So that's why I did just the 2x4. So that's how I would use this to lay out plates and lay out walls. So here we have a 2x6. Let's say the crown is up that way. And I need to cut a rafter right here. Right here on the square, we have our common roof pitches here, so for common rafter cuts. So we'll have 1 pitch, 2 pitch, 3 pitch, 4 pitch, 5 pitch, all the way up. And then up top here we have the hip and valley cuts. So let's just say, for example, I had to cut a 5/12 pitch. I'd come over to my mark wherever I had to cut this. I'd come over, rotate the square until this bottom common rafter 5 hits that right there. I'd go ahead, make a mark, and that, or actually this is the cutoff, this is the cut, this is the piece I'm saving, that would be my cut there. Then if I were to come over, let's say that I measure however far I need to cut, I'd come over, make my 5/12 mark, which this is actually going to be real difficult because the piece of wood's actually broken on this end here, but it's fine. We'll get close enough, make the 5/12 cut. Then we'd take this pivot point. You guys can't really see what I'm doing. Then we'd take this pivot point, put it onto the bottom piece of the wood. This is our crown up. We'd put it on the bottom piece of the wood, line up our 3.5 or possibly even 4 inches, depending on if we have sheathing on the wall already, which in most cases we do. So I would actually line that up at 4 inches, scribe that mark across, and then this would be my cutout for my bird's mouth, and then this would land on past the wall. This would be my stick out, whatever it is, so I'd obviously want a longer piece. This is just for demonstrational purposes, but that's how I would cut out my bird's mouth, and this piece goes bye-bye. This is my rafter, this is my stick out, and that's my cut as well. So that's how you would use this to mark out rafters. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up. That is how we use speed squares in the trades. These are very basic, common speed squares, not very expensive. There's some way more expensive speed squares out there that do a lot more, but that is pretty much going to wrap it up for these ones. That is about all they're capable of. There are a couple other things that you can do with them that we might get into in another video. We might do some like speed square tips and tricks to get you out of pinches. You can find angles on a job site and stuff like that. But yeah, in terms of the capabilities of these squares, that is pretty much going to wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you found this helpful. We'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.